Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Knutson, and I work with Fairfax County's Department of Transportation. I want to welcome you to this meeting tonight to discuss the traffic calming plan for Masonville Drive. We can start off with introductions, and tonight from FCDOT, we have Grace and Nicole with us, and from the Mason District Supervisor's Office, we have Olivia. And Olivia, would you like to say anything before the meeting starts?
Sure, I'll just do a brief introduction. My name is Olivia Logan, and I'm the transportation aide out of the Mason District Supervisor's Office. I'm committed to supporting our constituents and advocating for their transportation needs. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me and our office. And I'll be sure to put my information in the chat. Now I'll turn things back over to y'all.
Thanks, Olivia. And if any of the community task force members are logged on tonight, they can introduce themselves during the Q&A following the presentation. Nicole does have a short presentation to run through. So Nicole, if you're ready, you can go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the meeting. Tonight, like Steve said, we're here to discuss the traffic calming process for Masonville Drive. A couple things I want to go over. Please note that this session is being recorded and may be shared on social media. Please hold all questions till the end of the presentation, and instructions on how to ask your questions will be provided at the end of the presentation. So let's start with what is traffic calming, why we're here. So discuss why we're here. We're here to explain the traffic calming process, give opportunity or provide opportunity to give feedback, community feedback, and answer any questions that you might have. And now we can move on to what is traffic calming. Traffic calming is the installation of physical devices to reduce vehicle speed. These devices can be either vertical or horizontal. Vertical devices can be driven over, such as a speed hump, as you can see in the upper left-hand image, while you drive around horizontal devices, such as raised median islands, as you can see in the upper right-hand image. Both devices make the road safer for drivers and pedestrians. I would like to also note that we are not permitted to install stop signs through this process. So here we are showing charts and images showing the effect of decreased speed. As speed decreases, visual acuity, field of vision, and depth perception increase. With the reduction of speed, we can see a significant reduction in the number of crashes involving motor vehicles. Okay, so here we have a map showing all traffic calming projects throughout Fairfax County. We have over 266 projects, resulting in more than 600 devices installed countywide. Every district has a device. The chances over that you've driven over one are pretty high. I would also like to note that FCDOT and the District Supervisor's Office collaborate with citizens on community-initiated projects. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go through the 5 steps of the upcoming program. Step number 1 is project installation. Initiation. Step number 2 is plan development. Step number 3 is community engagement. Step number 4 is ballot phase. And step number 5 is the final step, which is project installation. So for project initiation, our first step, like I said, all traffic calming projects are always community initiated. So the process begins with the request from the community to the supervisor's office. Once that request is received, we will complete a basic eligibility review. Then we will conduct a traffic study. Once the subject road passes both the eligibility review and traffic study, the community will then form a task force. There are eligibility requirements that need to be met. One, it needs to be a VDOT maintained road, have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, be functionally classified as local, collector, or arterial, and if it's a collector or arterial, it needs to be a residential street. There are also traffic study components. So here we will go over the traffic study results for Masonville Drive. For the volume criteria, we need between 500 and 6,000 vehicles, 24 hours, both directions combined. So for Masonville Drive, we had 2,122, so we passed the volume criteria. For the speed criteria, we need the 85th percentile of speed needs to be greater than or equal to 35 miles per hour. So what this means is that vehicles need to be traveling 35 miles per hour or faster in at least one direction of travel. So the 85th percentile in the eastbound lane was 39 and the westbound lane was 36. So Masonville Drive met the speed criteria as well. Moving on to step 2, which is plan development. So we first conduct a site visit in the field in order to develop draft conceptual plan. Once we draft that plan, we will meet with the task force to get feedback and amend the plan if necessary. Once the task force is satisfied with the draft plan, the homeowners directly adjacent to any proposed measure will need to sign off the placement of that device in order for us to move to the next step. So there are device placement requirements that need to be met. We need a minimum of 300 feet between measures and from existing stopping conditions. We need a minimum of 150 feet from any intersection. We need a minimum of 150 feet for adequate sight distance with any device. And it needs to fit on the existing roadway. So we need to account for any driveways, manholes, or utilities. And then we also have to count for the grade of the road. So based on the available options on the site visit, we were able to propose one speed hump on Masonville Drive. As you can see in the blue box, the address is listed, needed to sign off the proposed devices since the device is directly adjacent to their home. Here we have a speed hump schematic. The speed hump is 12 feet long and is 3 inches high at center. There will be white chevron in each travel lane and a speed hump signs with a recommended speed of 15 miles per hour on each side of the device, as you can see in the lower left-hand image. So moving on to step 3, which is community meeting or community engagement, which this is where we meet today in order to present the plan to the community and obtain feedback. And based on that feedback, the task force can decide whether they want to amend the plan or proceed to the next phase. If the task force decides to move forward, we can move to the 4th step, which is the ballot phase. So each household in the ballot area will receive 1 vote. It will need to be sent directly to the district supervisor's office. The ballot time period is open for a minimum of 3 weeks and needs to be received by the date marked on the ballot. And at the end, the supervisor's office will tally the votes. The district will also notify the task force of the results. Okay, here we have an example of the ballot. So the proposed devices will be listed on the ballot and the community will be voting on the entirety of the plan. The task force is responsible for distributing the valid ballot packages to everyone in the ballot area. So there are 3 ways to return your ballot by the deadline. One is you can mail in the ballot directly to the supervisor's office. You can hand deliver it directly to the supervisor's office. And 3, you could also email directly to the supervisor's office. Ballots should not be returned to the task force. So here we have the ballot area map for Masonville Drive. There are 28 ballots. In order for the proposed plan to move forward, we will need greater than 50% of all households to vote in favor. So we will need 15 yes votes in order for the plan to move forward. So if we get the required number of yes votes, we can move to step number 5, which is project installation. This is the final step in the process. So the traffic calming plan will be presented to Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for endorsement, and then the resolution will be sent to VDOT. Once endorsed and the resolution is accepted by VDOT, FCDOT will work with the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services to schedule installation. And lastly, the final step is the traffic calming plan is installed. So here we have reached the end of the presentation, and we can move on to the questions and answers session. You have 2 options, chat or speak. Once the chat item is activated on Teams, you can use it by typing your question. And if you want to speak, you click raise your hand icon. It should be shown up in the upper part of the Teams image. And then a request to be unmuted will be sent to you. You will have to click allow in order for you to be unmuted. And if you are on phone, please push *5 to raise your hand. When it is your turn, the host will call on you to ask your question. You need to push *6 to unmute. And after you are finished, you will need to push *5 in order to lower your hand. Thank you very much. And now we can move on to any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you, Nicole. We have our first question in chat from Christina. She asked, how long after approval does it typically take to schedule and complete installation?
After community approval, we could possibly get the device installed in about 6 months. So it's going to take a little bit of time, anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to get the item before the Board of Supervisors. Then it generally takes at least 4 months for DPW to get the item installed.
Yeah, I would see if you may. I would say probably 4 to 6 months for DPW to get it installed.
Okay.
All right, thank you. It looks like there's a question from Shelly and Steve. I'll send you guys a request to unmute your mic.
There. Are we there?
Yes. We can hear you.
So it sounds like the speed bump is going to reduce the speeding on the street. Is there, from your experience, do you know, does it also reduce volume? Like, does it reduce the rat runners that are just cutting through? Do you know from your experience in other situations?
I mean, that's not the intent of this installation. Sometimes it can displace traffic, but I wouldn't make that promise. So I know that there has been a request to do a cut-through study on Masonville Drive, and we're still working on collecting data for that process.
Okay. Do you know the navigation apps like Waze and Google Maps?
Mhm.
They direct the traffic through Masonville because their algorithm basically says avoid, they send people avoiding traffic lights and stuff. So if you type into Google Maps or Waze, it's going to send you through the cut through rather than to avoid the traffic signal. So is there anything that can be done, do you know, to address those apps, those navigation apps?
I know VDOT has been, reaching out to the various, manufacturers and people that run the apps, and they have not been able to find any way to, to get roads removed from that program or those programs. So unfortunately, I think this is just the world, the transportation world that we live in now.
Okay. Do you all do, after it's installed, do you ever come back and do a project post-mortem and say, did it improve things? I'm assuming it's going to improve speed, but do you ever look to see, did it worsen things somewhere else, or
We
was
don't
it
check, we don't necessarily check any side streets, but we will come out and regather traffic data on the subject road.
okay? So this is, like I said, it's going to be great for the chronic speeders. But when you did the test on, I guess it was Mason Lane, they those speeds, that 85th percentile speed was something like 44%, which was even higher than Masonville, but they were less than the volume. So
Right.
there's nothing can be done that can be done for that. It's just you accept that they're on that road, people feel comfortable driving, almost 45 miles per hour on the 25 mile per hour speed limit there.
Right, I do believe the 85th percentile speed that we recorded on Mason was, it was worse than Masonville.
Right.
Unfortunately, the volume, Mason did not meet the volume criteria that the program has. So I do believe we're going to go back out one more time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Grace, but I think we're going to collect data on Arnold and Mason after school starts back, and see if those volumes have changed at all. And if they have, and if the speeding is still there, then we can move forward with, whatever road qualifies for the program.
Would there be an advantage to waiting for that retest until after the speed bump is put in? Because then we'll see if we get some of the offload traffic.
Cut through back on that road.
Yeah, I mean, we can wait until afterwards. Like Nicole was saying earlier, it probably will take, a good 6 months for it to get installed at this point. That's going to put us into wintertime. If they
Right.
do go to ballot fairly soon, so we would be looking at probably a springtime installation. We could push back the counts for Arnold and Mason until after that installation is put in place, if that's what the community is, hoping for or requesting.
I think that would be good to give us some feeling on what the effect of putting the speed bump is on Masonville.
Right.
Okay. I mean, noted, we can go ahead and push that back until a spring data collection if the device is placed on Masonville Drive.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, thank you.
And you said, just one last question, you said that this process is not going to be used for adding a stop sign. What is the process if someone wanted to look into maybe adding a stop sign?
You would need to approach VDOT and ask for, a multi-way stop at one of the intersections, and they would review that intersection and see if it meets their warrants or criteria for that installation.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all we had.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next next hand I saw was from Laura. I'm going to send you a request to unmute your mic.
All right, thank you so much for doing that. And thank you all so much for hosting this. I am not a resident of Masonville Lane. I am on Mason Lane. And I appreciate y'all considering Mason Lane in the study that you did, even though we didn't meet the threshold for a traffic calming project. As Ms. Mickelson was indicating, sometimes the second and third order effect of a traffic calming project, it impacts other neighborhoods, particularly in this case, it would be Mason Lane possibly. And the question I had, if y'all came out later on and looked and saw that there was a negative impact on the traffic of Mason Lane, would that require a separate and second task force, or would this task force is already assembled be working that, or how would that process work? Would it be a whole new process from cradle to grave, or could we piggyback on what's been accomplished already by this current task force?
I mean, it would be a separate process. It could be, streamlined a little bit. The same task force members, if somebody is on the current task force, does actually live on Mason, it would probably be a little bit better for that task force to have some representation from that street on board. But we could, try to, expedite this process since you all have seen some of the options available in the steps. So, it might not take quite as long. And I think we were pretty quick on Masonville also. So it would be a different process. It could involve the same people.
Okay, thank you. And I see Christine said that, yeah, I'd be happy to take on the role of kind of assembling and leading that project for Mason Lane. So thank you all again for allowing me to be able to sit in on this meeting.
No problem. You're welcome. And so after this meeting tonight, if the task force would like, they can go ahead and move to the ballot process. They just need to reach out to Olivia. We will gather templates to work from and send those to Olivia. You would just need to modify them to represent this effort on Masonville Drive. We would want to take a look at the changes that you make to the templates before they are distributed to the parcels in the ballot area. Once we've looked at them and given the thumbs up, then you can go ahead and distribute the ballots. And hopefully, once the ballots come back to the Mason office, we will get those required 15 yes votes, and we can go ahead and move through this process. And basically with that ballot mailing, we're looking for a cover letter, the ballot itself, a schematic showing the device that's being installed, and then also the map of the device location. So those would be the items that would be distributed to the person that's receiving the ballot so that they do have some information to make a decision. Then all those ballots do go back, as Grace was saying, to the supervisor's office, and that office will compile the results and let FCDOT and the task force know what the outcome is. And Nicole just pulled up a page that has our contact information. On the left side is contact information for Fairfax County's Department of Transportation. The email address is dotinfo@fairfaxcounty.gov. Just put Masonville Drive in the subject line, or Masonville Drive traffic calming, or you can call 703-877-5600 and ask to talk to somebody about Masonville Drive's traffic calming process. Basically, the same is true for the Mason District Office. You can send an email to mason@fairfaxcounty.gov. Same information in the subject line, or call 703-256-7717 and ask to speak either to Olivia or to somebody about the Masonville Drive traffic calming process.
Steve, there's another question about Christina asked, we've still had no response regarding sidewalk requests since April. She's wondering how she can follow up on that.
I
Go ahead,
Mm.
Olivia.
Yeah, if you reach out to our office, we can reach out to FCDOT and coordinate on that piece. I know I sent some. Hold on, I'm reading the other comment. Okay, well, we'll keep pushing on them. It is a process, and I can check in on the outstanding sidewalks tomorrow.
And unfortunately, Olivia, I do think there's been some change in staff in that active transportation group. So that might have caused some of the delay in the response.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
okay. And Olivia has put her contact information in the chat for people to see. We will be sending out these slides after the presentation, either tonight or tomorrow morning, to the Mason office. Olivia will be able to distribute them to the task force, and you all can send them out to anybody in the community that's interested in seeing them, if they need the information to make their determination if they receive a ballot.
Also, we did make mention that this session is being recorded, or this meeting is being recorded. Once we have that recording available to distribute, we will provide that to Olivia, so you can make the request to for that recording as well once we have it available.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, I think we'll go ahead and close down for tonight. We can stay open for a minute or two if anybody thinks of any last thing they would like to ask. But basically, next steps are the task force probably should reconvene, make the decision if they want to move forward now or not. If they do, then we can get that ballot process started for them.
And also for the task force, this is a decision between the task force and the district supervisor's office. But we will also need to know if the ballots will be going to the occupants or homeowners. So just please keep that in mind when you do request to move forward to the ballot phase.
Okay, if we have no more questions, then I think we are going to log off for this evening. If anybody does come up with any other questions that they would like to ask after this meeting, please feel free to email or call either office. So thank you for everybody that joined tonight, and have a good evening.